After the marriage rites were performed, Machi moved into her new home with her husband. On their first night together, her husband was about to get intimate with her when suddenly she transformed into a pig, ran out of the room and went straight to bathe herself in a dirty stream close to the market square. Her husband was so scared and shocked of what just happened. He searched everywhere for her that night but couldn't find her. Once upon a time, in the small village of Oke, lived a young girl named Machi. Machi was the only child of Chief Njoko, and she was blessed with extreme beauty and body shape. And that made many men in the village to admire her and would want to marry her just to gain access to her father's wealth and properties. However, Machi was a very spoilt brat and also selective. If you are poor or from a poor background, Machi would have nothing to do with you. She was full of pride and very rude to people, especially the poor ones. One morning, a young farmer named Uzo approached Machi, but Machi, being the spoilt and rude brat, got angry and spat on him. She warned him never to approach her again. "You poor fool! What do you think you are doing? Don't you ever in your miserable life stop me to say rubbish again. Do you think I was born and raised to suffer with a poor farmer like you? Do you have what it takes to maintain my beauty?" Machi asked in an angry tone and walked away. Her encounter with Uzo spread round the village, and the poor men who were not up to her father's standard began to stay away from her, for her not to spat on them as well. One day, a rich man called Arinze came to ask for her hand in marriage, and at once Machi agreed to marry him because he was rich and has all it takes to maintain her beauty. After the marriage rites were performed, Machi moved into her new home with her husband. On their first night together, her husband was about to get intimate with her when suddenly she transformed into a pig, ran out of the room and went straight to bathe herself in a dirty stream close to the market square. Her husband was so scared and shocked of what just happened. He searched everywhere for her that night but couldn't find her. The next morning, Machi came back home soaked in dirty water and clothes as she went on her knees before her husband and began to cry deeply and bitterly. The strange event repeated itself many times, and after 1 month, her husband sent her back to her father's house and ended the marriage. The news of her being sent back to her father's house and she transforming into a pig spread round the village like a heavy lightning. Many maidens and the young men she insulted and laughed at began to make mockery of her, calling her unpleasant names and a curse to womanhood. Machi was so ashamed of herself and was unable to face the villagers like before, and she decided not to go out of her father's house ever again. Several times, her father witnessed her transforming into a pig. The strange event continued for weeks till one day, one of her father's friends advised him to take her to a seer to know the cause of her problem and the solutions to it. When they got to the seer's hut, and after some incantations with the spirit, the seer then told them that Machi was the cause of her own problem. Her father, Chief Njoko, was surprised at what the seer said, and the seer then further said that Machi has wronged too many people in the past because of her rudeness and the hurtful words from her mouth. And out of those she had wronged, one laid a terrible curse on her that has resulted her transforming into a pig, and until she asked for forgiveness, she would keep on transforming into a pig. At that moment, Machi had nothing left rather than tears rolling down her cheeks. "Where will I start from?" she asked. "You can start from anywhere," her father replied, holding her hands as a sign of support and encouragement. The next day, Machi decided to let go of the shame of being mocked by the villagers and went from one hut to another with her father to ask for forgiveness from those she had wronged in the past. That she did for many days, yet she kept transforming into a pig. They went back to the seer's hut the next day and explained everything to the seer. The seer then told them that the one whom laid the curse on her was still angry with her because she hadn't asked for her forgiveness. Once again, Machi and her father were surprised at what the seer said. The seer told her to think deeply and try to remember the one she called a dirty pig in the past. Some minutes later, after a deep thought, Machi began to cry as she remembered her encounter with the old woman at the village market many months ago. What happened was that very day, Machi went to the market with her friends to buy some corn when an old woman approached her, held her hand and begged her to buy from her to enable her feed her children. Instead of Machi to politely say no to the old woman and promise to patronize her next time, rather she showered the old woman with insults, calling her a dirty pig from a dirty water. She pushed the old woman aside, hissed and walked away, not minding how hot her words are. After she had left, the old woman laid a curse on her that she would change into a pig every night and back to human at dawn, and until she asked for her forgiveness and learned to control the words from her mouth, her curse will remain with her and continue to torment her. Machi then told the seer that the old woman was the only one she could remember and had called a dirty pig in the past. The seer then told her to go and ask for her forgiveness at once. The next day, Machi and her father went to the village market in search of the old woman, and luckily they found her. Machi then went on her knees with tears in her eyes at the same spot where she insulted the old woman and asked for her forgiveness, and the old woman forgave her from the bottom of her heart. Machi and her father were very happy and grateful to the old woman, and since then, Machi learned her lesson and promised never to be rude or say hurtful words to people ever again. She later got married to Uzo, the village farmer, enjoyed her marriage without transforming into a pig, and they all lived happily ever after.